house and her children. So primarily the policies around are for the masses, right? And that's where you don't know, but I know that there are a whole lot of women out there that the policies reach out to, but I still think that we haven't done enough, and there is much more, many more miles to go till we actually reach out to the last mile.
Okay. Here's, I think we can wind this up, but take a couple of questions because a lot of women here, and I'm sure you'll have lots of things happen in your mind that you want to ask, discuss, share. Yes, please.
She rightly just shared that there is no physical difference between a man and a woman, right? But I have my own organization. I won't use the word startup. The reason is it's nothing new. We don't have an R&D department as of now, and I strongly believe if it's not innovative or some destructive idea, it can't be a startup. The current we are in technology. The biggest challenge that we face as a new where we are hiring, right? Women. Why? If I hire them, we hired 3 people. We were hiring. They said that, ma'am, we will take leave. We will have our managers. They have their managers lined up or something, which creates like a startup who's starting up, right? We cannot afford that because we are going to train them, mentor them in our organization, and by the time they are actually ready, they're out on holidays when we have business pressure. Secondly, I had my friend who's into technology, and I asked her to join my organization. She's a very good friend of mine, and she replied to me saying that, Ami, I cannot join because you cannot afford me. I'm planning a baby. The current scenario is it's not only entrepreneurs, but the education system has trained them that go out, hunt for a job, and get your security. Now it's not about women and men, but I would not, myself being a woman, right? I have majority stake in my organization, but I fear hiring of women.
I want to know if you want to give men a paternity leave in your organization if they want to stay back home and take care of their children.
We cannot afford at this point of time.
That's a big problem, right? It's not about it's down to coming down to money. I mean, it's pitiful, it's sad, but yeah, how do we deal with that?
No, I think I will add it because I think it's about the maternity bill that you're referring to and so many other maternity facilities that we're talking about, right? Or privileges, so to say. Let's understand this. That across the globe, India is considered or called names for being unequal to women, for disparity against women. When we actually passed the maternity bill, the Honourable Prime Minister called it a landmark moment and a landmark bill. I think it's a landmark bill because morally and socially it puts us very, very high in the eyes of the global fraternity. One. Second, I think we are talking about, in the bill, we talk about 10% of the organized market giving these privileges to their people. Coming back again, understand this, that women as a whole start working when they are 20 something, 21, 22, go on to work till they are 55, 60. Now, we are basically talking about a period from 30 years to say 40 years or say 25 years to 35 years, 5 years of their time, probably 6 months of their time sometimes. With a similar policy or a similar policy, you are encouraging more and more women to come and start working. So practically, we were talking, Kashmira was just talking about this, and I know of a lot of organizations who say that because we implemented the bill, we have seen an influx of women at 22, and we now have a resource pool at 22 who we know that will at least work with us till they are 28, till they start planning a family. Yes, I agree, it's a little unfair. See, I'm an entrepreneur. I started an IT company, so I'm with you. I know it's a little unfair for small startups, but how many of us are there? There are very few. And plus, as a fraternity as a whole, I think it's just going to help.
Yes, please. Can I add real quick? Sorry, excellent. We are lucky. And I'm especially lucky because I have a Prime Minister that's a feminist. And he will keep saying he's a feminist until he doesn't get a reaction because we know that men and women have a role to play in our societies. So the comments that you are making are well received, but with the digital economy, you do not have to physically go to work. we can be so much more productive and so much more innovative. And as the government house leader, I will tell you, I'm trying to modernize the way the House of Commons works and bring it into the 21st century. We need babies. We need to have babies. We should not be embarrassed to have them or feel like it stops us or we cannot contribute. Women multitask. That's what we do from the beginning of time. I cannot tell you a day that my mother was sick when I was growing up, and even if she was, she still cooked, she still cleaned, she still sent me to school, I was still taken care of, and everything still happened. And my mother never earned a salary, but she is the hardest working individual that I know. Unfortunately, it was really late in life that I realized that, because I was taught that you have to earn a salary to have value, and that's not true. Because I am the person I am today because my mom helped raise me. I am the person I am today because my father played a role, so did every single person. But if I choose to have children, that's my prerogative. The person I choose to do that with is my choice. And I think society, if we're doing things properly and want to be in the 21st century and lead the world, these are the kind of decisions we need to make. And as women, we need to support our fellow women. So please don't make excuses. Don't tell me that's going to take away from your productivity, because if we are innovative, it will actually increase our productivity, I assure you.
Can I just add a little? Because you said, right, in India the biggest challenge is if female is at home, right, the family will expect that she can do extra. Maybe in Bangalore as a hub where technology, where people have started accepting that in big companies you can work from home, but from a small organization we had an experience that family keeps on pushing and taking them from granted. You are at home, right? That's the biggest challenge, where one word was that, right, work and home. She said beautifully, but India is not, I guess, at least.
Sweetheart, just because I'll have to tell you this. I do realize that I've had situations where the girls have come back and told me, no, I don't want flexi hours because if I'm at home then I have to do other stuff as well. And that is a social reality. I just want to tell you one little thing. Don't be defensive. You are right now doing something where it is more important for you to get your work going than to be supportive to your friend. But you will, as you grow, you must not lose perspective that in the process of making that choice, whatever choices we make, we leave out something. What you leave is what is going to make you, not what you take. So what you are leaving in the process is diversity, maybe. It may not, right now you can balance that trade-off. At some stage, if you think that that is important, and you should be sensitive to it, and you should realize, and you should come back to it. Because the loss is not of the woman who is not working with you. The loss is yours. And that, if you remember that, it's okay. Don't feel defensive about it. You don't have to do social service. Yeah.
And just because the journey is going to be tough doesn't mean you will not start the first step. I think you should take the first step.
And hire
I would like to add something.
Tell her to get her baby home.
I would like to add something.
Yes.
I agree to both the parties. I agree to her that right now she might not be in a position to go in that dilemma, pay the maternity and all. But at the same time, I also realized, I have worked with it, that women are much more sincere than any men. Yet at the same time, I'm quite loved. They are much more sincere than any men. And during the conversation, there was something, it came up, the women always have something in their back of the mind. Can I do this? Can I not do it? So they always have something in their mind, I have to prove. So what a man would have put up 8 hours of work in a day with cigarette smoking and everything of breakups, women don't do that. They put extra 2 hours to prove themselves that yes, they are right, and then they can do it. In order, and it's not a point that they try to prove something to somebody else. In most of the time, the woman is trying to prove herself, and this is the most difficult part. Proving somebody is a very easy thing in life. Proving yourself that yes, you can achieve this. Fighting yourself every day to come up next day with your children up in the wing is actually very good. Maybe you are right and right now, but maybe in another 5 years when you really grow up, you would look forward to women in having your organization the way I'm going to look forward after 5 years. Because they are going to put 10 hours, dedicated 10 hours rather than 12 hours with hundreds of breaks. That is honest. I have faced it personally.
No, I think we have to, while it's very important to have this whole subject of men, women, men versus women, men over women over men, whatever it is, I think the word is really what you added right now on gender diversity. And while we start accepting that diversity is extremely important, whether you're an entrepreneur, a startup, a corporate or a professional in your organization, that diversity is extremely important. And if today 50% of the population in the world is women, and 70% of the consumer decisions of buying are taken by women, and I'm sure you've got statistics to prove that, we can't leave out that huge population. So if we have to make a few sacrifices along the way, we've got to start now. And I think this is a generation which probably might go through some amount of, if you want to term it, suffering. And then you have the next generation where it will just become acceptable. And these sort of policies which the government has brought in, and which some good corporates have already put into place, whether it's maternity, whether it's raising a child, flexi timing, sabbatical, tomorrow these get applicable as much to the men. So it's not only about maternity and raising a child in the first 3 to 4 years, it's also about looking after old parents when you all reach an age. So I think what we have to look at is what we're really building into society today is this whole element of respect, this whole element of, what is it that people can do who are in a position of power? What is it that people can do where other people can sit back and say, you know what, I can certainly work for this organization, or I can start an entrepreneurship venture because I have so much available. And the extremely important point about mobility, you don't need to be at the office, you can work from home. And I'm sure these things will settle down, and these are not doubts which you brought up which are not heard of. I mean, these are doubts which I'm sure as women even we've had in mind. Even when we are hiring, when, oh my God, she's going to get pregnant, how will my project go through? But you've got to be mature enough to take it a bit back and say, I have to do this in spite of what is happening. And the confidence you build in an organization, both men and women will begin to respect it. That's the small point I wanted to make.
Somebody at the back had a question. Yeah.
My question is for Bardish. So since you're from Canada, I wanted to know within tourism to encourage small businesses, what are the initiatives you all are introducing or working on?
For tourism?
Yes.
Or for small business?
I'll
give you a good answer. So the backbone of the tourism industry is small business. And that's why my portfolio is small business and tourism. This year we celebrate Canada's 150th birthday. We also celebrate the 35th anniversary of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. I'm older than the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, so it's a very important document for myself, because with rights and freedoms come responsibilities. We have never seen tourism as an economic driver, and earlier there was a comment made about the variety of businesses, and many women are in lifestyle businesses. At the end of the day, entrepreneurs are our job creators, so we are now recognizing that tourism is an economic driver. We are trying to showcase Canada to the world. And that's why Destination Canada will be working very closely with India. On July 1st, there will be a new flight that will be going from Mumbai to Toronto, direct flight. And we are very excited about that, Air Canada, both ways, because those flights are always full. But we want both countries to succeed. And that's why the conversations we've been having have been quite refreshing. And there is a little bit of, I don't like using the word suffering, but challenging times right now as we modernize our countries and as we actually respond to the very real challenges that people are facing. But some of these changes we will not be able to overcome unless we put policies in place. So in Canada, what we've done for small businesses is that we have a great startup culture, but we need our small and medium-sized enterprises to grow through innovation and trade. So we are investing heavily in the innovation agenda. Plus, we are going and visiting other countries to build relationships, to open up markets, because Canada only has 36 million people. So for our businesses to succeed, we need our solutions not to only be good for Canadians, but to be good for the world. With the population that India has, it's a very important partner for us. So we would like to see a progressive trade deal so our two countries are working better together. There are solutions in India that Canada needs as well. And that's why we would like to see us working better together so that we can really see both of our economies flourish, because at the end of the day, it is a global economy.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm a lawyer by profession and I work in the space of sexual harassment at workplace. Since we are discussing empowerment of women, my question is that when we have a law which is just for women and protecting their rights in the workplace, of course I understand that women get harassed more, so that's why we have a law for them. But in a workplace, when I walk into one, somebody may tell me that, isse dur raho, fasa degi, in a case like that. Then we have something like a maternity act, which gets amended to 6 months of time period that is given to women. My question is, shouldn't we have for sexual harassment, a law which is a gender neutral law so that transgenders or anybody else who's working in the organization has similar rights as women? And in case of maternity also, shouldn't we have something which is like a 3 months leave for the woman and 3 months for the man? Why shouldn't the man take care of his children? So when we're talking about these kind of things, are we really empowering our women by making women-centric laws, or are we distancing them more from workplace?
Totally right. It should be fungible. Whichever parent does a better job of raising the child should be. So I can tell you this. When I had my second baby when I was in the US, and I realized that all the other mothers were so fussed about not letting the man give a bath to the baby because they all thought that the baby, something would happen to the baby. And I said, that's the father. He's supposed to be as concerned about the baby as you are. So now tomorrow you're going to complain that he never does anything. You have to allow that. And so I think it's the parent. And I can tell you, my husband was a better caregiver to my kids when they were little than I was. So that's what
I really endorse that.
Absolutely. I would want to answer your question. Let's understand this, that in India today, the situation that we are facing, we have more men than we have women. So of course, when we build policies, when we build bills, and it's a whole process, right? Of writing the bill, presenting the bill, getting the bill passed. You see that it has taken nearly 2.5 years for the GST bill to pass, which is so important. So of course, in this entire process, we kind of focus on things which are not important, but which are really urgent, right? So that's why we have the Vishaka committee in place, because there are fewer women in workplaces and because they suffer sexual harassment more. But you'll be surprised, sweetheart, that we have the policy. It's very difficult for us to see whether the Vishaka policy is actually implemented. So the challenge today is primarily to implement the policies that we have rather than actually build a policy on top of policy and not actually take it to the last mile.
I tend to agree with you that I think it should be more gender neutral, because harassment is not only for a particular gender. And also when it comes to bringing up kids, like I'm aware that Sweden has this policy where you're given 2 years of leave. The man can take it, the woman can take it, either can take 1 year each. I think this would work a lot more in urban India, because we see men being equal partners in bringing up children. But in rural India, we don't see that coming in society. So I don't think we are really ready when it comes to...
making the law neutral. What will happen in reality will take a very long time to, Delhi is...
I think companies are making it neutral. I can speak for the company that I work for, which is very neutral. So the rights that women have, if they get harassed at work, are equal to what the men have. If you have been harassed as a male by a male colleague, a female colleague, you can go ahead and report. Nobody stops you from doing that.
It's wrong for the law, and I think you have a very good plan.
Yeah.
Just on the maternity one also, instead of having a mandatory 6 months for women, maybe we could have had an option so that employers don't tend to get repelled in the very beginning that, oh my god, 6 months. So, and the option, so maybe in rural India the women could have taken, and in urban India it could have been a fight internally that you take, but at least that option would have been there.
I'm surprised how many women run their households in rural India.
Again,
it is a bad stereotype to think.
Again, I think as I replied to Ami, I would want to add, just because the journey has just started, we've just started talking about all of this. So I think our first step is to actually talk for the women. And then I'm sure we will get to a point where we will say, okay, now this paternity leave, I was just talking to Bardish while everyone else was talking, saying, hey, do you have a copy of the paternity leave, paternity bill that you guys follow, right? So yes, we are all thinking about it. If you actually come inside into the round tables that we are talking about, we are talking about all of this. But yes, as far as implementation is concerned, have patience, one step at a time, and we'll get there. We will together make the India of our dreams. That's important.
With that, ladies, thank you very much. It's time for us to wrap up, but people are going to be around here. You can take some more questions personally if you want. I'll hand it back to Ajay. Thank you for letting... what should we do?